once I conclude the very brief PowerPoint presentation. Okay. We may not have the opportunity for a Q&A session today. There is on your GoToMeeting, there is a chat at the bottom there if you want to ask a question. If we have a chance at the end of the webinar, we'll try to answer all questions that come in. Otherwise, I will have a slide toward the end of the webinar with my contact information where all questions can be sent. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, there are a number of you on the call today that are already clients of ISS Group, so certainly you know who we are, but there are also plenty of people on today's webinar who are not already clients of ISS Group, so I'm going to take just a minute or two to give a brief summary of who we are. ISS Group is now in its 25th plus year of business. For the first 14 years of our existence, we were an ERP reseller, and specifically in the mid-90s, we were a reseller of the QAD ERP product. In those days, it was called MFG Pro, for those people on the call today that have been around for the last 15 years. In the mid-90s, we were presented an opportunity by QAD. Actually, Pam Locker herself came to us and asked us if we'd be interested in web enabling the MFG Pro solution. And we said, you betcha. And in cooperation with QAD, we developed QAD's first e-commerce module, which was called MFG Pro on the Web, Trading Partner Transactions. That name was actually given to the solution by Pam Locker herself. That solution was purchased by some of QAD's largest end-user organizations, such as Ingersoll Rand and Tyco and Eaton, GE, J&J, as you can see, many of these companies are still using the TPT product to this day. In 2004, we had the opportunity to expand the functionality of our TPT product. Up until that point, the TPT product was a customer-facing solution. So it allowed companies like Ingersoll Rand and Eaton and Tyco to allow their customers to perform MFG Pro transactions over the web. In 2004, we were asked by one of our clients, Aspect Medical, a $100 million medical device manufacturer up in Massachusetts, to expand the functionality of TPT to the buy side of the supply chain. And we created our first, what we called MRO purchasing solution, which is now called iPurchase. As part of the iPurchase solution, we created an approval routing engine, and we call that approval routing engine iApprove. So iApprove has been around since 2004. It was embedded inside of the iPurchase solution. I'll talk a little bit more about that as I go through these slides. Okay? But what we've done recently is we've extracted that approval routing engine out of our iPurchase solution and created a whole new solution out of it we call iApprove. And that's, of course, what we're going to be talking about today. This is just a picture of some of our clients. These are all active accounts of ours. They're using one or more of our solutions. Some of them are using iPurchase. Some of them are using iQuote. Some of them are using other solutions that we have offered over the years, including our TPT solution, which is still being used by companies like Eaton and John Crane and Tyco and others. The common denominator across all of these companies is they are all QAD end-user organizations. 98% plus of our client base are QAD end-user organizations. So that's where we live and breathe today. We focus our attention, our solutions on the QAD community. This is a picture of our solutions portfolio. The top three solutions we call approval routing solutions. You see iApprove, iPurchase, and iQuote. Of course, today we're going to be talking about the iApprove solution. Many of you have seen, and some of you on the call today are using either the iPurchase solution or the iQuote solution. So once again, the iApprove solution is the approval routing engine inside of iPurchase and iQuote. So it's a fairly mature solution, and what we've done is we've created a new wrapper, which of course we're going to demo today, for iApprove. Our iFramework solution originally was called eFramework, and so that's been around since 95, 96 as well. We've rebranded it, called it iFramework. Of course, we've upgraded it and enhanced it, and that is an application development framework that we have used to create the approval routing solutions. And Frank is going to show you many of the features of the iFramework solution today. And last but not least is our iBridge solution. And our iBridge solution is an integration solution that allows us to integrate applications such as iApprove and iPurchase and iQuote with back office ERP solutions like QAD. Again, iApprove is the heart of iPurchase and iQuote. Okay? And I thought it was important to show this slide just to show the maturity of the iApprove solution, that even though it's a new solution from our marketing perspective, it's been in use for now over 7 years. Of course, it's been enhanced over the course of those 7 years. The iPurchase solution is now in release 6.2. and we continue to improve the iApprove rules engine as well. So that's the purpose of this slide. As you can see here, the solutions are integrated in real time with QAD. So we read the QAD tables in real time, the vendor master, the customer master, the item master, generalized codes and comments, master comments, work orders, the chart of accounts. So the data is all continued to be maintained in QAD. There's no data replication. We don't replicate any data into our routing solutions. A request is then prepared in iApprove, submitted for approval, and upon final approval, an action is taken. That action could be creating a purchase order, creating a sales order, updating a master file, sending an email, okay? Whatever action is required at the end of the approval cycle. You'll see in our demo today, we're going to be performing a demo updating the QAD customer master file. Okay, and again, I'll talk about that a little bit more in a few slides. The functional objective of iApprove is to provide a solution for electronically routing requests, any type of request, through an organization for review and approval. If you want to route purchase order requisitions for review and approval, that's really what our iPurchase solution does. Now, you certainly can use iApprove for that, but the iPurchase solution has a lot more functions and features specifically for purchase order requisitions. The same with sales quotes. If you were looking to route and approve sales quotes through your organization, you're probably best looking at our iQuote solution, since it has, again, a lot of functions and features specifically for creating customer sales quotes. We have clients that are routing CapEx requests, okay, IT change orders, expense and travel requests. Today, again, we're going to show master file data changes. So this is just a list of examples of different types of requests that can be created and routed through your organization for review and approval, and an action taken upon final approval. Some of the feature highlights of iApprove: it's a 100% web-based solution. It's written in Progress Web Speed. It does use some other technologies such as Ajax and jQuery, okay, for the user interface, but it is a Progress Web Speed based solution 100% web-based. There's nothing loaded on the user's machine. All they need is access to the internet via an internet browser. It is real-time integrated with QAD. As I said, we read the QAD tables in real time, and we write to the QAD tables in real time. It also will work with other ERP solutions. So if you have an environment that has non-QAD ERP, in addition to QAD ERP, this will work in what we call a hybrid ERP environment. We know a number of you have hybrid environments with other ERP solutions. We do know some of you are actually looking at moving away from QAD to other ERP environments. So it's important to understand that you will not lose any investment in any of the ISS solution if you have a non-QAD environment or if you move away from the QAD ERP application. The iApprove solution is based on user-defined approval routing rules. So you, the end user, define the rules. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about what rules are in the next couple of slides. Okay, but it's user-defined, so there's no programming involved. So if you had, in today's demo, as an example, we're going to show the change of a customer credit limit. You can set up a rule that says all credit limits over $250,000. The CFO needs to review and approve, as a very simple example of a rule. The rules are configured based on a point-and-click configurator that we provide inside iApprove. No programming required. What happens when you submit the request for approval, it checks the rules and dynamically determines who the approvers are based on the rules. The rules are configured based on any of the data within the request. So you can set up a rule, a very simple rule, as I just gave an example of, or a very complicated rule that uses multiple pieces of data within that request. Okay? And again, we'll go through some examples in a minute. We allow simultaneous, sequential, and group approvals. Simultaneous, as it explains, two approvers are notified at the same time, and either approver can go in and review and approve in any sequence. Sequential approvals means that I need to approve before the next person in line is even notified that they need to review and approve a request. And we also have group approvals. So you can assign a number of users to a group, and all of the users will be notified there's a request outstanding for review and approval, and any one person in that group needs to review or reject that request. We also have out-of-office designation. So if you are an approver and you're out of the office, you can assign a designee to review. Both you and your designee will be notified that there's a request outstanding, and your designee can go in and review and approve or reject on your behalf. If a request is changed by an approver, and that's based on security privileges, iApprove will recheck the rules to determine if that request needs to be rerouted based on the request change. So as an example, if you had a rule that said all credit limits over $250,000 needed to be approved by the CFO, and then one of the approvers went in and changed it to $1 million, maybe the CEO needs to now review and approve it as well. We will determine that at the time the data is changed in the request and reroute that request for approval. We have what's called supervisory escalation. So if an approver is notified there's a request outstanding to approve, and that approver does not get to reviewing and approving that request in a certain amount of time, and you determine that amount of time, the supervisor of that approval will be notified, hey, there's a request in John Jones' queue. It's been sitting there for 3 days. What do you want to do about this? So we call that supervisory escalation. Okay? Email notifications go out to all the required approvals. Up until the time a request is fully approved, the requester can retract that request, make changes to the request, and resubmit it for approval. We keep track of all approval attempts. So we are fully what's called SOX compliant. We keep full audit trail of all request changes, all approval attempts. Any data changed in a request is all captured and auditable. Okay? So we keep track of all of that history. There's no limit to the number of times a request can be retracted by the originator of a request and resubmitted for approval. We keep track of all of those attempts. Email notifications go out to the request originator. Upon final approval or rejection, we time and date stamp all approvals and rejections. Based on security privileges, we allow an approver to add or remove additional approvers, as well as to force a request through the approval cycle. So if you had a request that was an emergency and there were a number of people that needed to approve a request, based on security rights, a person that had appropriate security could go in and force that request through the approval cycle without waiting for all of the approvers to approve that request. All of the approvers that needed to approve that request would be notified, okay, and all of that is captured in history. We keep a request queue for the approvers. Again, we're going to demonstrate all of this today. And our solutions are all mobile enabled as well. So if you have an iPhone or a BlackBerry or a Windows powered device and you are an approver of a request, whether it's again a credit limit change or a vacation request or a purchase order requisition or a sales quote or any type of request, you can, as long as you have a smartphone, you can log in to any one of our solutions, including iApprove, and review that request as if you were sitting at your PC. Review the header, the line items, the comments, the notes, the attachments, all of the data as part of that request, no different than if you were sitting in front of your PC. Fully mobile enabled. And of course, the value of that is it significantly reduces the cycle time of getting a request through the approval cycle for people that are traveling and are out on the road. What's a rule? Rules can be based on any and all of the data within the requisition. Okay? Rules are Boolean conditions using ands and ors, which work together to determine the list of groups, people or groups required to approve a requisition. So a simple example, all purchase order requisitions greater than $10,000, the CEO or the CFO needs to approve the requisition. A very, very simple rule. But you can put together complicated rules as well. All capital expense requests between $1,000 and $25,000 for the following departments, for the following plants being shipped UPS or FedEx, or if the QAD project code begins with M, or if the GL cost center is between $8,000 and $89,900, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can see that the rules can be very, very complicated Boolean conditions or very, very simple conditions. There's no limit to the number of rules that you can create. There's no limit to how simple or complicated a rule can be. And again, upon submission of a request for approval, the rules are checked. And if a rule is determined to be true, the approvers attached to that rule are assigned as approvers to that request. The approvers can be one person, a list of approvers, or a group, all attached to a rule. Pricing. Pricing for iApprove is a fairly simple pricing model. It's not a user-based model. It's a form-based model. So the way it's going to be priced is for the base form itself, and this is the license fee. It's going to be $2,500 for a request form. So as an example, if you want to put together a customer credit limit change request form, which is what we're going to demonstrate today, that would cost $2,500 plus whatever integration may be required with the back-end ERP system, in this case QAD. So we're going to show you an example of a read integration, okay, where we're going to put inside our request form a customer lookup, okay, and that's a read integration. So for every read integration point that you need in your request form, it's an additional $100. And for every write integration, so as an example of a write integration would be creating a purchase order at the end of the approval cycle, or updating the credit limit inside the customer master file, or creating a sales order in QAD upon final approval of a sales quote. So these are all examples of write integration points. So you have your base price of $2,500 plus $100 for each read integration point, plus $500 for each write integration point. So typically your request forms are going to cost somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 per request. Okay? So again, if you have a vacation request or a CapEx request or an IT change order, those are different types of requests. Each one of them is going to cost probably between $3,000 and $4,000 as a license fee. That license fee will be an annual recurring license fee. There will be no maintenance fees. Okay? So the license fee will be an annual recurring fee. So if in fact your form is $3,000, you'll pay $3,000 per year as a license fee for that form, for that request. No maintenance fee. We're offering a summer introductory special here, so there are no license fees for the first 2 request forms. So today we're going to demonstrate again the changing of a customer credit limit inside of the QAD customer master file. It's a very, very simple form. Basically, you have the customer number and the new credit limit. So it's a very, very simple form. In fact, what we're going to demonstrate today is you can put the whole request form together, create the rule, and submit the request all probably within 1 hour worth of work. So very, very rapid development of these forms. This is a very simple form, but high value. And as a matter of fact, we're talking to one of our clients today about this very requirement. The requirement they had was to be able to change the customer credit limit on the QAD customer master file. So there's a huge value in this type of form, even though there's only 2 data elements on the form. The summer special is offering the first 2 request forms for no license fees. There are development fees for creating these forms. A typical form would take between 4 and 8 hours to create. Obviously, the form that we're going to show you today will take, as I said, there's 2 data elements. It would take probably less than 15 minutes to create a form like we're going to show you today. But we have seen CapEx request forms that are 4 pages long, and they obviously will take much longer to develop. We can develop them, or you can develop them. And our iFramework development environment, okay, would be used to develop the form. So we're going to show you that today. Okay? We're also offering a fixed price implementation for $5,000. So for $5,000, we'll install iApprove, we'll train on how to create these forms and the rules, okay? And we'll also provide go-live support. So you can probably get started using this tool for the first 2 requests that you want to automate, probably for somewhere around $6,000 to $7,000. Right? That's what you're probably looking at here. Okay, today we're going to demonstrate again the changing of a customer credit limit. So the form is, you're going to see here, this is a screenshot, and you're going to see, and Frank is going to demonstrate this, is just the two data elements at the top of the screen. It's the customer number and the new credit amount. That's the whole form in this case. Okay? We also put a lookup into the customer number, which looks up into the QAD customer master file, and we're going to demonstrate today again how you actually change the code that is generated by iFramework to create that read integration point. And you're going to see it's just a few lines of code. Right? So we're going to demonstrate all that today. So that's what today's demo is going to be about. The objective of today's demo is to show you that you can create a very simple form which has very high value in very little time. And that's really what we're trying to show in today's demonstration. Okay? So Frank, I'm going to hand this over to you. And Frank is going to go through this agenda. He's going to show you how to actually create the table and create a form and show you the features of iApprove and iFramework.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Glad you guys joined the webinar. We're going to show a bunch of things. It'll probably take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Hopefully we get a good overview of iApprove. I would like to start with the actual building of the form. This here, what we're looking at is our iFramework. This is our menu structure on the left. You'll see as you open and close. Menu structure, we have our form, our maintenance fields basically, up here on the top section, and this is a tabbed interface. You can have as many tabs as necessary up here. We always have our menu bar in the center of the page, and down below on each and every screen there'll be a browse, and this browse is feature rich, and I'll get into the functionality in just a little while, but that's sort of the anatomy of our iFramework application screens. They all look exactly the same, they all work the same. Once you know how to use one screen, you know how to use every single menu item that you see here. They all look and work exactly the same. Okay, so it's very simple and very intuitive. We're starting on our form generator screen, and this is where we define the actual form, and in this case it's going to be our credit increase request form. So some technical data is defined here. The most important is going to be the table name. What iApprove is going to do for us is it will create a table in the progress database real time when we hit this create form button down here below. Okay, and this is going to be the table name where our new credit increase data is going to reside. Okay, so we have a table, and the next thing we need are some elements or fields, progress terminology, some fields in this table. And this is where we define our fields. We give them a name, a data type, a label, etc., just like you would in the progress database directly. Okay. Now, what happens is once we press this create form, this table is generated in the database, and also some code is generated. All right. So now I've pre-done all that because I wanted to make sure I didn't get any errors doing the demo. So I've pre-done the actual generating of this form. And I actually have two forms. I have my credit increase, and I also have my vacation request. And this one here, I have a department, an end date, and a start date as my data elements for a vacation request. All right, so you can define as many forms as necessary. All right, so now I've gone ahead and I've generated my form. The next thing I need to do is to add it to the menu. All right, so I'm going to go into my menu items, and the menu structure on the left here is completely defined by you guys. Let me just go into categories first. You'll notice that my categories listed here in my browse are exactly the same as you'll see here. So you have complete control over what you see. The real important thing is the security. You can define at a very granular level, users and groups, who gets to see which functionality, who can get to these screens. Okay. From menu categories, we have menu items, and these are the actual items that appear. If I just scroll a little bit, this here is my iApprove section. I've already selected the credit increase one, and I've gone ahead and I've pre-populated that as well. And we just give it a label, the order on the screen, and the security again. So security is at the menu item level as well. And then we tell it which screen to bring up when that action is clicked. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the credit increase. All right. So this right here is what you see when you first click on that generate form. It's completely unmodified. We have our status, our requester, and our entry date. The system takes care of these three fields. And then we have our two data elements that we've inserted in the forms generator. We also have our menu bar. One special thing to note. Well, you know what? I'll get into the functionality in just a little bit. The first thing I want to do is show you what was actually generated. So this will get a little technical, but I'll try to spare too many nuts and bolts. There are five pages that are generated. I'm sorry, there's two. This entire screen uses 5 different programs. 2 of them get generated for you. The first one is the HTML screen, which only lays out the fields, the top section, this right here, these 2 fields. That's laid out in the HTML file. Okay. Then we have a JavaScript file. So we have a couple lines of code here. Its main purpose is to define the browse. We need to know the browse, what functionality we want to give that browse, what table that browse is going against, and that's down here. That's this table down here. Okay. The next thing that I've actually had to program manually is the actions that are going to be taken when this requisition is finally approved. And in our case here, because it's a credit increase, the action that's going to happen when it's finally approved is we're going to update the credit limit for that given customer in QAD. Now, inside of iFramework, we have a call-out engine. That call-out engine basically allows the end user to insert business logic into many different areas of the application without actually customizing the main application. So you can customize this form without actually touching the base code. All right, so that's what a call-out is. So we have a call-out that runs when a requisition is approved. And that's what you're looking at here. All we're doing is we're finding that requisition that was approved, and then we're running this program, crcreditupdate.p. This creditupdate.p is actually responsible to modify the customer record in QAD real time. It's going to update the credit limit with that amount that was just approved, and it'll change the last credit limit update date to today. Okay? So those are the 4 main programs. There's one other, this config.xml, and I'll explain that in 1 second. This browse here, let me, I actually have a search going on. Let me clear this search. Reset, I think it is. Okay. So I had a search. I'll get into searching in a second. But this browse is basically a browse against this table, this new table that I've created. But if I scroll to the right, you'll see that I also have fields from QAD. These fields here are coming real time out of QAD. So for this customer, Colossal Conglomerates, his current QAD balance, $541,000, his current credit limit, and the credit limit update date and time. That data is coming directly out of QAD. So the way we do that is we create a data set, or we define a data set. And we use this config.xml file. It's very simple once you get the hang of it, but we use that to define our data set. So in here we have a section, data set for this iApprove credit request. The table is the IAC credit table, and we're going to join in the customer master. Okay, so these are the 5 different files that you need to implement this function, which I'm about to show you. The next thing I want to do is to insert a QAD read step. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I've already have that code pre-assembled for me. I'm going to comment out this one line here, which was our customer field. That's this field here. And I'm just going to replace it with 3 additional fields. It's that same exact field that I just commented out. The only thing I've added is this dynamic lookup section. Okay, this here is going to give us a lookup against the customer table so that we can select and search for a customer while we're on the phone with them. All right, so this is the code that we need for a lookup. And then I've also added 2 more fields, the customer sort field and the customer credit limit field. So I think it would be handy if the user putting in the requisition can see what the customer's name is and can also see what their current credit limit is. Okay, so let me save that. Now if I come back and refresh, we'll see that we have a lookup here. We have the customer's name and we have their current QAD credit limit amount, and that all matches what was shown down here in the data set below. Okay? All right, so the next part that I want to actually do is to demonstrate some of the stock functionality that you're going to get on each and every single screen. Okay? What we have first is the menu bar. We have save, new, and delete. And you'll notice that depending on the status of the requisition and who the requisitioner is, the save and delete functionality may not be active for you, as in the case right now. We also have notes. This is entered on every single table or every single form that you create. You have the ability to enter notes. So I can put in a note, I can save that off, and it'll give me the date and time, it'll timestamp it, and it'll also give me the note text. And I'll just add on to it. You cannot modify the actual note itself. You can also attach files to notes. So any type of file can be attached to a note. You'll see here that I have an issue log, and if I just click on that issue log, you'll see that Excel will open and show me that file. Okay? So any number of attachments can be added because each attachment is its own separate note. You can enter notes and attachments together. That functionality is available throughout the entire application. I want to show you the audit trail, but what I'm going to do first is to create a new record. So let's say I want to put in well, let's do a search. Let's do a search. So I'll click on the lookup, and this is one of those real-time integration points where we're actually reading that QAD table directly. And again, if you recall, that button there, it was just that one simple thing I changed by putting this dynamic lookup against the customer table. Okay, so that gave me all this functionality. So now, if I needed to, I can search for the customer I'm looking for, and I'm going to show you search in a minute. We can also specify which columns we want to see in this browse, and we can also sort, and I'll show you all that in a second. But let's just pick this first record here. So that record is selected for me. I can now put in a credit amount. Let's put in 100,000, and we'll save that record. All right, now you'll see it's still in a not submitted status. And what I'm going to do very simply is I'm going to change this amount to 150,000. I'll click on save. I'm doing all this so I can show you the audit trail. I did a little too much, but that's okay. So if I go into the audit trail, we actually audit each and every write to the table. Everything inside of iApprove is audited. We audit each field, and we also audit the approval information. Right, who approved, when they approved, and I'm going to show you all that in just a few minutes. But everything is audited. So if I click on this record here, it would show me the field, the old value, the new value. That was when I first created the record. And if I go up one, it'll show me that I changed the amount from 100,000 to 1.5 million. All right, so everything is audited. I'm going to submit this in a second. I just want to do some more functionality for you. You'll see down here in the browse, we have the ability to sort, by any index field. We do multiple sorting by holding down Control. We can switch ascending, descending by holding down Control. So you have the sort capability. Down here is the first, previous, next, and last buttons. You probably can't see them. They're disabled. They only have a few records, so they don't show up. You can change your page size. How many records do you want to bring in on a page at once? If you're maybe on a very slow connection, you can make that not lower. If you're in the office, you can make that as high as you want without really affecting performance too much. The next thing you have is the ability to select which columns you want to see in the browse. Okay, so any columns can be chosen as long as they're in your data set. And again, that data set was defined in that file that I showed you earlier. You can pick and choose any columns. I've already obviously have some picked. I can add, remove. I can move up and down. If I am an administrator, I have the privilege of setting this current setup as the system default so that all other users will see it the way I want them to. They will have the ability to change that after you set it. Okay, so I can pick my columns that display in the browse. We can also export the data set here to Excel. Every single browse that you see on every single page has the Excel button, and all the data can be exported to Excel. Next thing I want to show you is the searching. I think we have a very sophisticated search mechanism where the user can sort of build their own searches. Actually, let me start off real simple. We have some fields that we can search on. So let's just say I want to search where the customer equals that 0, 1 million. Hopefully I have enough zeros. Click on Show Results, and it shows me the 0, 1 millions. Okay, I can go back into that and say, well, show me where the customer is 0, 1 million, and the requester was Frank. Okay, so we could do that, and it shows me the requester was Frank. So that's really simple stuff, and you can add as many fields as you need to. Okay. Now, where it gets really fancy is that you can change these to an or. You can say, show me where the customer is 0, 1 million, or the requester is Frank. Okay. So now this is where it's 0, 1 million, or this one here, the requester is Frank. Okay. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to make it a little bit more complicated. I'm going to add some more rows. We're going to make that an and again, and we're going to start grouping different conditions. Okay, so we can, depending on how complicated you need to make it, you have that functionality. All right, so I'm not going to fill that all in, but you can just imagine that you can build a very sophisticated query using all the ands and or conditions that are necessary to meet your requirement. All right, so we think we have a very, very flexible and powerful search engine. Okay, let me actually just clear out that search completely. Okay, so that's the search. So the last couple of things I want to show you about the browse is that we have the ability to select multiple, and we have batch delete. So I can select multiple records and batch delete them. I can also batch edit multiple records. So if I wanted to change all the credit amounts to something else, I would check off that box, put in the new value, and it would run through and update all those fields with the new value. Okay, all that functionality that I've just spoke about, you get that all without writing one single line of code. All right. Again, the only thing we have here is the HTML file and the description of the browse. That's the only code you have to write to get the form, and then based on what that action is going to be, create a sales order, update the credit limit, send out an email to the HR department, whatever that's going to be, you'll need to also write that code. But that's it. All that other functionality comes standard with the product. Okay, so now I have a form here, customer credit limit increase to 1.5 million, and let's get this thing approved. So what I first have to do is I have to submit it for approval. So here's my submit button. I click on that. It asks me if I'm sure. I say, of course I'm sure, and it submits it for approval. What just happened was an email was sent out to our first line approvers. Okay, let's talk about approval history. First thing is we can retract. We can retract the request at any time until it's been final approved. All right, I'm not going to waste time retracting, but we can until it's been final approved. Next, I want to speak a little bit about these rules and how they got there. So let's jump over to our approval rules. Okay, so you'll see I have 3 people in this on this routing. We're going to jump over to our approval rules where I have pre-created the rules as well. So here's the first rule, this test number 1. It's at sequence 11. Okay, sequence 11. I would give it the table, the domain, and just a unique name for the rule, as well as the sequence. And the sequence is the order in which these people are going to approve, or the position in the routing that these people will be inserted in. All right, so we're going to insert them in level 11. You determine that number. We have here an approver list. If this rule evaluates to true, the test group and Craig Wolfis is going to be required to approve this requisition. All right, so that's the first one, test 1. It's active. I'm not going to get into stop processing rules. Notify only is this is not an approval is not required. We're only going to send a notification. Conditions. What are the rules? What are the conditions that need to be evaluated in order for this rule to be true? We don't have any conditions for this rule. So that means anytime a credit limit increase comes in, the test group and Craig Wolfis need to approve. Okay? That's the first one. The second rule I have, test number 2, I have it at approval sequence 20. Again, that's arbitrary, determined by you. The only approver is Carpets. The only difference with this one is that we actually have some conditions for this one. The conditions are the amount has to be greater than $50,000 and the customer number is anyone. Okay, so I made up 2 fictitious conditions. Now again here you can use ands and ors, and you have access to all the fields on your form that you can query to build your rules. Okay, so that's how I built these 2 rules. We have our fields that we can query against. We have our operands that we can select from, and then our values. The group determines and or conditions. I'm not going to get into that, but we're going to rewrite this screen to make it work more like the search screen that I showed you earlier. Right now, this group field is handling the ands and ors. I won't get into how that works, but just know that you can do it. Okay, so that's our rule, our 2 rules. If I jump back to our credit increase, again, we're going to see that we have our 2 rules show up. There was 2 people, or the test group, which is the real label is finance group, and Craig Wolfis. Those are the 2 people on that first rule. And the second rule was Scott Carpents because the amount is greater than $50,000. Okay. So now, the way the approval engine works is we have simultaneous and sequential approvals. Simultaneous is multiple people can approve at the same time. Sequential is one after the other. We have a mix of both in this case. We have simultaneous because we have 2 different approvals required on level 11. Okay, so both of those approvals will get emails to come in and approve, and they can actually come in any order to approve. So Craig can approve before the finance group. However, Scott needs to wait until everyone before him has approved before he is even notified of the approval. And you also see that the status is yellow here, pending approval, where Scott doesn't have anything. So Scott wasn't even notified about this. You'll also see that the finance group has 3 members: Jim Bird, Bob Buckley, and Ed Chandas. All right, so there's 3 members of that group. Jim Bird happens to be on vacation, little sailboat. He's out of the office, he's on vacation. John is the delegate for Jim while Jim's on vacation. Because we have a group, only 1 member of that group needs to approve this requisition. We don't require everyone, we only require 1. Okay? So that's a little bit about what you're seeing here. What I want to mention, the show approval attempt, if I was to retract, or if someone was to reject this, you would see every single approval attempt that it took to get this approved by switching between them using this drop down. It would have show approval attempt 2, show approval attempt 3, and you will see the status say rejected, retracted, with notes, etc. Right. So what I'm going to do next is to actually get this thing approved. So we're going to log in as Buckley. While I'm on this login screen, just to note that we do integrate with Active Directory, which will do the single sign-on. When I log in, I'm going to go into my approval queue. Okay, my approval queue shows me how many different requisitions I have out there and the count for each that I need to approve. Right now, I only have my credit increase rec out there. So I can click on that, and it'll take me back into the credit increase form, and it'll pre-search and only show me that one that I need to approve. I can look at the data, I can look at the approval history, and I can approve or reject. All right, I'm just going to approve real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to log in as, if you notice it took it off my queue, I'm running out of time. I'm going to log in real quick as the second person for that one. Let's just go right into it. Let's clear out that search. And we're looking for the one for 1.5 million. That's that one right there. We're going to approve. Okay, we're going to now, by the way, just to show you, they're turning green, and now Scott was finally notified after both of those people approved. Approval date and time is tracked. Now I'm yellow for Scott, so I'm going to log in real quickly as Scott. Carpents. Okay, and we'll go to my queue again. We'll pick my credit increase. We'll go to approve those two. So here's the 1.5 million. Notice here my credit limit right now is 500,000, and my update date and time was 7/9. I click on approve, and it marks it as approved. And you'll see that in QAD, remember this data is coming directly out of QAD. My new credit limit is 1.5, updated today. And again, this data here is coming out of QAD, and you'll see it reflects the same balance. So QAD was actually updated. Okay, it's now approved. We look at my approval history. It's all approved, date, time stamped. The audit trail is all there. And everything just worked. All magic. Okay. Just real quick, I have my vacation request. This is the exact same thing. Here I have 3 fields, some dates, some calendars, etc. Otherwise, works exactly the same. I'm out of time. Thank you very much for staying with me. Andy, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Oh, I think I'm going to turn it over to Andy. I don't know if he's still there. Andy, do you have us on
Yes,
mute?
I am, Frank. Thank you.
There we go.
No, I got it, Frank. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. I just have a couple of slides here to finish up. We have a new website that we deployed about a week ago, so please feel free to come visit our new website. It will review pretty much everything we discussed today. It will talk about iApprove, iPurchase, iQuote. It has a lot of good information on it. It has a bunch of documents and videos, and so we're pretty happy with our new site. We're still adding content to it, but I think it'll give you a real good feel for our current, what we're calling request approval routing solutions. Right. Call to action. What I'd ask you guys to do, anybody who thought that this solution has any value, is to talk to your business managers in your organization to see if there are any processes within their area of the business which may require routing of a request for review and approval. Again, I gave some examples today. CapEx request, we demonstrated a customer credit limit change, IT change orders, vacation requests, purchase order requisitions, sales quotes, and the list goes on. We have many clients that are using it for many, many different types of things, including routing resumes around for new employee hire. So there's many, many different uses for a tool such as this. If there are any areas of your business that do have a need for a tool such as this, please contact us, and we're happy to have that conversation with you. You can contact us at sales@issgroup.net, or you can email me directly at aweinstein@issgroup.net, or you can call our 800 number. So there's a bunch of ways that you can get in touch with us. And last but not least, if you would like a more detailed demonstration of any one of our solutions, we're happy to do that for you. Please contact me directly again at aweinstein@issgroup.net or at sales@issgroup.net, or you can reach us again via our website. There's a contact us form, or you can call me directly at 973-879-6077. We appreciate everybody's time today. We know everybody's busy, and we do appreciate everybody taking the time out to take a look at our new iApprove solution. And we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you all very much.